You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not talking about a movie. We are talking about season 1 of the animated action-adventure television series Camp Cretaceous, developed by Zach Stens. All 8 episodes of season 1 were released September 18th, 2020 on Netflix. And as we're doing something different, we're covering a TV series, a kids show, and we're just going all over the place with new stuff. And so we figured we're doing something really cool and fun. Let's bring in somebody really cool and fun that we know, loves to talk about this stuff, loves this series as well. So welcome back, because he did Deep Blue Sea with us last season, Greg Schwab.
Yay!
Hey! Thank you for having me.
Of course. We're very happy to have you. And there's a lot to talk about in a season of a TV show, so to have an extra person to talk about it with helps.
Absolutely. And we're really glad to have you, since you suggested this series to me last season.
I love the Jurassic World series, or Jurassic Park series. It was in a very formative time that Jurassic Park came out, and then read the books, and then as it just continued to grow and become even better. And then when this series came on, I was like, well, my kid is, I don't know, like a year and a half old. He can watch some dinosaurs. So that was my excuse to sit down and watch it. And I was like, oh, this is actually like pretty good. Like this is quality with regard to inside the Jurassic World timeline.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So again, things that are new. First time talking about a TV series. And then also, because this is a kids show, and I'm sure we have probably talked about this, last week on feedback and things like that, letting you guys know ahead of time that since this is a kids show, we are trying our best to keep it very PG with everything that we're talking about. Because if you have kids who are a fan of this show, I don't know how many kids listen to podcasts or really care about them, but if you got kids around, at least they can listen to it with you. And we will do our best to keep it cool for them, for sure.
Yes, we will.
So yeah, if there are any kids out there listening, we'd love to know about that. Thanks for jumping on, at least for this episode.
Yeah. We'll try to behave this week. I think we can.
So I guess we can go ahead and jump in and start talking. Of course, because we have a guest, we do have a top 3 format. Makes things a little easier to bounce things around. Of course, our top 3s will cover some of a TV show, and then we'll have plenty in our other notes that we'll probably cover a lot more. Got a lot to talk about. But first, Daphne, tell us some fun behind-the-scenes stuff, and then we can get started in our top 3s.
All right. Well, Camp Cretaceous is a joint project between Netflix, Universal Pictures, Amblin Entertainment, and DreamWorks Animation. Scott Creamer and Aaron Hammersley served as the showrunners and executive produced it with Lane Luaris, Steven Spielberg, Colin Trevorrow, and Frank Marshall. The series was out for about a month before it was already greenlit for a second season. Unlike the movies, which showcases kids being saved by adults, Camp Cretaceous instead shows teenagers working together to survive on their own. This season 1, takes place during the events in Jurassic World, so you will see some tie-ins, and we'll probably mention that on this podcast. Each episode, it has a running time of 22 to 24 minutes. There was no budgetary information, and there is no box office information. So that brings us to what, Pake?
Just a little synopsis that I pulled from IMDb shamelessly, which sums it up very succinctly. 6 teens attending an adventure camp on the opposite side of Isla Nublar must band together to survive when dinosaurs wreak havoc on the island.
And that they do.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, lots to talk about with the show. Are you ready? I'm ready. Greg, you ready?
Sure. So.
Then let's kick it off. And Greg, as our esteemed guest, why don't you go first with a number 3?
All right. So my number 3 is not even like the main portions of the story or anything like that. My number 3 is Roxy and Dave. Roxy and Dave have basically, it almost seems like they are the Waldorf and Waldorf and I don't know, the Muppets that sit up in the box and like talk. It's Waldorf and Statler. There we go.
Yes.
Waldorf and Statler. And so they're, Dave is goofy and, kind of dad jokey and Roxy's the responsible one, which is, for a mid-20s couple of, male female counselors, that typically makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I love about it is that they are trying to engage these kids the same way that camp counselors, right? Like basically they're the counselors at Camp Crystal Lake, where bad stuff just keeps happening to campers, and they're just like, okay, you know what? We're going to be okay. We're going to keep the beaches open. It's no big deal.
That sounds like Jaws, Greg.
Right, exactly. Like, there's no way that kids almost get eaten by dinosaurs, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? You're off with a very strong warning."
Right.
Oh my gosh.
You're just
on your own volition, you climbed into the raptor pen.
Yeah,
you're getting a strong talking to, mister.
Yeah, like it's just, and then we're gonna again, and I mean, I love the fact that they pointed out right during in the episode, Things Fall Apart. They're like, hey, we got to go talk to Miss Deering. And like, Roxy's like, oh, we're going to go talk to her. And Dave's like, wait, we're going to leave the kids alone.
Mm-hmm.
The kids that are intent on getting eaten and or trampled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that quote.
Like, I don't understand. Like, wait, these kids, you want to leave them alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like,
it's the first
to me, that's
sensible
like,
thing Dave said the entire day.
Exactly.
That's when he became,
like, oh.
that is when he became conscientious about the kids.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, he's just like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised they survived this long, but I mean, now we're just going to leave them alone. And then they never, and I rewatched it again here recently, and they never stopped trying to get these kids back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not out to save their own skins. I mean, they were like, when they went to the Mosasaurus Lagoon, and they're like, oh, there's the Carnotaurus, got to go, and it's like, okay, we're out. I mean, the two of them. I thought that they were great, a great pairing, and kind of a different way to view what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just a different viewpoint besides these kids who are literally running for their lives for most of these 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my number 3. I really enjoyed those characters.
Yeah, the co-head counselors. Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. It's great. I don't know much about the actor who voiced Dave, but Jamila Jamil I love dearly.
Oh, so is that Jamila Jamil?
Yeah.
Was Roxy?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yep, that's a really good point. They start real like doofy, and then by the end, they really are determined. Like, they're like, nope, we're stealing a van and we're going after these kids and we're doing what we got to do.
Yeah, we're stealing a Jeep.
Yeah.
And, what if we refuse? I will forcibly put you on that boat. Well, what if you refuse politely?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I like that they managed to at least catch the kids, like see them on the monorail for a little bit before they monorailed away. And they're like, okay, well, we know where they're at. We know where they're going. Let's go. Like, at least they didn't like end their story this season with them still having no clue about the kids at all.
I'm also glad they didn't get eaten.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's good.
So many did. But it was good to see that they didn't.
Awesome. All right, that is a really good one. I like that a lot.
It's a great way to start.
Yeah. So Daphne, what about you? What is your number 3?
Okay, well, mine is the dinosaurs themselves, which you knew this was coming with me when it comes to dinosaurs. We saw quite a few different dinosaurs, but I wanted to point out a couple that we got to see, in addition to Bumpy, which, oh my God, I now understand what all the fuss is about with Bumpy. I admit I'm in a couple of Facebook groups about Jurassic, all things Jurassic Park and World. And I couldn't understand what the big deal was about Bumpy until I saw it. And now, oh my God.
The first time we see her, it's like, oh, baby Anky.
She's so cute.
And that's it's Ankylosaurus.
Ankylosaurus, yeah.
Okay.
So cute.
Yeah, Bumpy was pretty good.
Yeah, Bumpy's amazing. Love Bumpy. Felt so bad for Ben because Ben and Bumpy formed that bond right away. Of course, when Bumpy's coming out of her shell, it's reminds me of the raptors in Jurassic Park when one is birthed and, pops out of the egg and, Dr. Grant realizes that they're breeding raptors. Like, okay. But Dr. Wu, during this egg, during the hatching, mentions that Bumpy is asymmetrical, and they breed all of the dinosaurs to be symmetrical and basically perfect in every way, with accelerated growth.
Very accelerated
yes.
growth. The next time we see Bumpy, she's a lot bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because
Bumpy must have eaten a bunch of plants.
Yes.
Like a bunch of plants in like that, like a week or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was more like 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't even
Not
know
very
if it was
long.
that long.
I don't know. I lost track of time when they were there because they were just always getting into trouble. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know day or night.
I feel like they were there for like a week or like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Before like the events of Jurassic World started.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I loved Bumpy. Just reminded me of Jurassic Park, and I'm gonna try to go in order of when they met them, but it's very hard because I've got a few dinosaurs written down. Of course, they saw the Toro, the Carnotaurus, and I love that they're giving them these little names like Toro and Bumpy, and yeah, I love it. Makes me very happy. Kenji, who likes to get into trouble, of course, takes Darius to see a dinosaur. I don't know that he knew was going to be the Carnotaurus, but, he claimed he knew everything about the park, so I'm not really sure. But, so they meet the Carnotaurus. When they're ziplining, they see the Brachiosaurus. We've already mentioned that Darius and Kenji get trapped in the enclosure for the Velociraptor. Not a good idea. A Sinoceratops broke away from the herd, so we got to see that. A Pake, say it, because I never say it right.
Parasaurolophus.
Parasaurolophus. The bioluminescent one.
Those were really cool.
Yeah. Dr. Wu's been kind of busy in his breeding that he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
They were, of course, in the underwater, the area. That reminded me, I started thinking, is this like Disney? When you get on a ride and you just get on the water and you float around. Now, I've never been to Disney, but I've seen and heard people talk about it. So I wondered if it was like that. Of course.
The Jurassic Park ride in Universal has things similar to this.
Okay.
Except it's not like kayaks, it's like an actual ride on tracks.
Oh, okay.
You got similar things.
That's cool.
So we see some pteranodons that chase them. Of course, we know how they escaped from their enclosure.
Uh-huh.
Ill-advised? Yeah,
okay,
Masrani.
So when Masrani's helicopter crashes into the aviary, the pteranodons escape. Which, that's when I really started to see the tie-ins were coming, like the pteranodons and...
That's the moment where you're like, I know exactly where they are in the timeline of the movie now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it out with the Indominus Rex part, but it really hit home when the pteranodons were running amok or flying amok.
Yeah.
So we got to see the Indominus Rex also, which kids were in jeopardy there when that was going on.
Oh yeah.
But I think And compies. I'm not even going to say their full name, but compies, which anyone who's ever watched Jurassic World, The Lost World, knows that a compy is those very little tiny scavengers. Dieter learned a lot about them in The Lost World when they killed him. And I was afraid that Kenji was going to actually take that prod and shock one of the compies. I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
We know that doesn't go well. Which we get that little scene. There's a build up with that, but then that's when Carnotaurus shows up in the tunnels too, and the compies run away.
Of course they do.
But Darius, being the dino nerd, he keeps getting called dino nerd, and he's not even offended. No, he's like, "Yep, that's me."
He accepts it. It's a badge of honor,
which is awesome. Yeah, but even he knows he's just the one compy. He's like, "Yeah, that's cool. I want to see it. That's awesome." Then as soon as they all show up, he's like, they're not as harmless whenever there's a pack of them.
No, they're not.
We should go.
Yeah, there have been instances in the past where compies have been a little treacherous. And of course, when they were in the Jurassic Lagoon, the Mosasaurus, which is one of my favorites. Maybe because it just reminds me of a shark, even if it's not a shark. It's a water creature, and
of the Meg.
Which I love. Yeah, so I love the dinosaurs in this series, and I'm really looking forward to watching season 2. I have not watched it yet, and if we decide to cover it, which we probably will, I will wait until just before we cover it.
I'm good with that. We're signing you up already, Greg. Sometime down the road, you might have to come back.
All right, fair enough. You get. I'm just going to spoiler alert. You get different dinosaurs in season 2. So there are more awesome pronunciations.
Excellent.
Of more dinosaurs.
That's the good thing about having Darius. That's the good thing about having Darius is he can pronounce them for me. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So that's how you say it. Good.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Ankylosaurus.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was Ankylosaurus until watching this.
Oh yeah, I had to get myself off of the idea. It was Parasaurolophus for my entire life.
Yes, me too.
More, and there's Parasaurolophus, and I get that. I mean, because I've been playing. We'll talk about this. I'm sure during this. Been playing plenty of Jurassic World Evolution.
Yes.
Still, the video game where it's just a Sim City, zoo thing, where you build your own Jurassic Park and you have all the enclosures, all the dinosaurs, build the park. It's a lot of fun, a lot of time consuming stuff too.
Yes, it is.
But it's fun. But then I have all the dinosaurs and stuff in my enclosure, and so whenever you release them, you get the big voiceover on the monitors in the park. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a new Parasaurolophus to the park. Oh yeah, cool. Thank you.
So my number 2 are the dinosaurs of Camp Cretaceous, which it's not a surprise because I love dinosaurs, and I love that we got to see such a wide array of dinosaurs.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool ones.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is very specifically one of those dinosaurs, because it was really cool to have it in here, and we talked about it a little bit. But the Indominus Rex itself being part of season 1 of this show. That's where you really pick up that this show starts before the events of Jurassic World, and then of course goes into the events of it, because in episode 2, when the kids are in Dr. Wu's lab and Brooklyn and Sammy sneak off back to his lab, and when Brooklyn's looking through all the stuff, she sees the files and the paperwork and things for the Indominus Rex.
Yes.
So Wu is still kind of finalizing his work on that, and so it's so this is before. But then once we get Indominus showing up, it's and now... Because there's the cool thing, while the kids are hearing the sounds and stuff, it's what is it? And then you hear over, the radio, asset has broken containment. And you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I remember when this happened. So, it helps okay, if you've seen Jurassic World, which we haven't actually covered on this podcast yet.
But we will.
We will. We will soon. But yeah, so this goes, right in line with a lot of the timeline of that movie, which is really cool. Indominus Rex, also just to throw little bar for a second. Speaking of Evolution, the video game, Indominus Rex is in that game. I have not unlocked it, and I don't know if I really want to.
It is? I haven't gotten that far, so I have a little ways to go.
Once you get like near the end of the game, you get all of the like really like interesting hybrids and stuff with the Indominus Rex. You get the Indoraptor from Fallen Kingdom, and then also a bunch of hybrids that they made just for the game, like a Stegoceratops. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there.
Okay.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
I have that to look forward to because, like Pake, I am also playing Jurassic World Evolution.
Yeah.
I did not know how addicting it was going to be. It was like the game was made for me. It's dinosaurs and it's like The Sims. Ugh, I'm loving it. It's so much fun.
So that's a recommendation from you guys?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
Oh, highly recommended. If you like spending all of your free time on it, addicted to it, no, but yeah, highly recommend. It is a lot of fun.
It's something though that you can pick up and put down. Like you don't have to play it for 6 hours straight.
I do, but you don't have to.
If you do end up playing it that long, but you don't have to. You could. It's something you could play like for a half an hour or an hour or whatever time you have available. Which it just turns into longer than you intend because it is. Just one more expedition. Oh, I just got to sell these rocks and these fossils. And then you just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Back to the show. Indominus Rex, when we first see it show up. And that's where this show takes kind of a dark turn, even for a kid's show.
Yeah.
It's definitely got some intensity. I was like, that's the first time we really see it on the show, where the kids watch it straight up kill and eat a guy right in front of them while they're up on the viewing deck. And it's like, that's pretty messed up. Like, they're just like, look, oh my God, that guy's dead. Very dead.
I did like the parallel from Lex in Jurassic Park to Ben. He ate him. He ate him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And again, if you've seen Jurassic World, Indominus is just much keener, smarter, more adaptable than really anything else that we've faced in any other Jurassic movie up to that point. And because it's bred to be that way, which is not smart, but
yeah, I don't know.
So that whole at least it doesn't see us, and then it immediately looks at them, and takes down the lookout tower that they're on. They're luckily just able to zip line away, mostly safely.
I'll tell you what, that going and jumping, you're athletic, right? Just catch me.
Yeah.
Catch me. It's like, whoa, nope, no, I don't care. I'm literally, I'm 40 feet above a thing that is trying to eat me. And yes, I get it. Yasmin is a world-class runner, but good God.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't think so. That's a big old no.
I did love, though, when they were ziplining and saw the Brachiosauruses. All I could think of was, it's a Vegisaurus. It's a Vegisaurus from Jurassic Park.
Nice.
Just love it.
But yeah. So it's interesting, though, that as killer as the Indominus is, as we've seen in the movie and things, the fact that these kids kept getting away from it over and over.
Yeah.
They have a way more luck than most people.
Yeah.
That's my one kind of complaint about this. I mean, I don't see how those kids are still walking by the time they get to the docks with all the plot armor they're carrying.
Oh, I know.
They've got to be dragging. They've got to be exhausted.
And no food except the carrot bars. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This being a kids show, you can brutally murder all the adults you want. That's fine.
I get it. You can't kill the kids.
But the kids, it's like you said, they have so much plot armor on them that
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, between Toro and the Indominus and
Pteranodons.
It's just and the Pteranodons, and it's just oh man, there are how many times did you see a jaw just almost snap somebody?
Yeah.
Right.
When they were walking, not when they, climbing up the stairs, or just with the Mosasaurus.
Yeah.
Just almost gets Yasmin, we watched the Mosasaurus do that in Jurassic World, and
Poor Zoe.
So it was like, all right, well, that was lucky. I guess it's better to be lucky than good. That was my one kind of sort of complaint. But like you said, I understand you can't just straight up have kids get eaten in a kid's show.
Oh, I have a ton. There's plenty of like suspension of disbelief things that I had to like tell myself like, stop complaining about this because it's a kid's show and you're supposed to just roll with it because that's how this works.
Yeah.
Like it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was, like I said, that was my one like negative comment. And it's even like it's adjudicated by it's a kid show. We like you're creating tension, and it was tense.
Yeah.
It really was tense. Like, anyway, go ahead. Pake.
No, but that makes sense. There's a lot of intensity, but yeah. So yeah, there's like points that I have that are just like, you can just answer them with, it's a kid's show. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like my next point where I was like with Indominus, they get back to the camp and their entire like treehouse camp is like ripped down. And it was like, how and why did Indominus do that?
Yeah, I don't know. There was no one there
Like-
for it to try to like get food to try to eat them to get food or whatever. So I don't
Right,
really
it's just like-
know.
Convenience for the story. And again, it's a cartoon, so accept it and
Yes.
move on. Now, I do like that they tied, like, when they find the tablet in the van, the whole, like, Indominus isn't showing up on the tracking radar, like, thing. They tied that in because that also comes from the movie. Like I said, we haven't talked about Jurassic World yet, so I won't go into detail. But when you watch that movie and we cover that movie, that is explained as to why they can't track the Indominus. And it's cool that they did tie that in just, like, a little line. And so, again, with mainly Indominus, just legit eating people. It's pretty terrifying for a kid's show, especially poor Eddie on his birthday.
Oh, I know.
As soon as he took off running, I was like, hey, he's a goner.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I didn't particularly care for Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
He kept that birthday hat on. He was like, it is my birthday and I am going to celebrate.
It's my birthday. I'll die if I want to.
Oh, Eddie.
One thing with regard to the Indominus, when we first see it, and it just kind of fades its camouflage, and I like, because I was like I'm looking, it's like kind of like blurry back behind because it is a cartoon and it's not like a camera where you actually have to have focus on what's close to you, but they kind of did that anyway, where they. Like, it's like that you see the trees moving and then it just kind of fades into view.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really cool.
There were a few, I don't know if you can really call them cinematic shots because it's all animated, but like there was a few shots in this series, like this first season. I was like, that was actually really cool the way that was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like I thought that they did a great job animating this. Mm-hmm. Although most of the kids run, like the way that you see them run in the show is kind of basically how I would look running, which is kind of gimpy and slow.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, but it does, even with the goofy running sometimes. Yeah, it sets up some intense scenes. Like I have to say, I think probably the most intense of the whole season is the kids kind of hiding and escaping from Indominus in like the area outside the genetics lab with all the shipping containers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I was just on edge that whole thing. It's like,
that
this is
straight up reminded me of Dead by Daylight, where it's like, hey, here's this thing over here. And like the kids are over here trying to get out. And I was like, this totally reminds me of Dead by
Daylight. Yeah. Oh gosh.
So that's my number 3 is just kind of focus on, it's cool that we got Indominus Rex as like a dinosaur and character / creature for the show, but then also with what was going on with Indominus also really helped us know the timeline of this show versus the movie. So that was really cool.
Nice. That was a good one. And I know that's a good one because paralleling of the Jurassic World timeline is my number 2. And we talked about it. So what's funny about this is that when I first watched the series, I had not watched Jurassic World in a while, probably since it came out. and I hadn't seen Fallen Kingdom yet. I don't even know if it was out. I don't remember when Fallen Kingdom came out, but
I don't know.
like, that was like early or late 2019. I think was Fallen Kingdom.
June or July 2019.
Okay, so yeah, so like it had been out for a while, and I don't think I'd seen Fallen Kingdom yet. We're neck deep in the pandemic, and I'm like, okay, hey, like this show seems pretty cool, and so we check it out, and I didn't remember that. I mean, I remembered that there was a bad dinosaur in Jurassic World that escaped. I didn't connect the dots. I kind of had a little bit of a glimmer when Masrani's chopper went in, and I was like, Masrani, oh, I mean, he like survived in the movie, right? I mean, and then like the chopper goes down, like, oh, this must be like after all of the, I don't know what's going on. And then it was actually the beginning of the second season when there's a tie-in, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was today years old when I realized that Camp Cretaceous was actually parallel to Jurassic World.
It's kind of interesting. Kind of another thing that just, I was looking online, the time where they're leaving the Mosasaurus Lagoon, when they're getting on the monorail and like that whole thing. I think in the timeline about that time is when Owen was geared up on his motorcycles with the Velociraptors elsewhere on the island. I think is about that exact time, like right at dusk before dark. Yeah,
nice. But yeah, like the paralleling of it, and just like you said, the little we have an asset out of containment, and that's where you see the beginning of it, right? So hey, we're looking like the first, I think it's maybe the first time they actually mention Claire Dearing's name was in that episode in the It All Falls Apart, or Things Fall Apart, and so that's like, okay, hey, now we're really getting into some. We had 3 episodes of establishment of characters and what's going on and how they each got to the thing, and a couple of near death situations, and now we're going to let these kids hang out here while we go be safe elsewhere. And again, fortuitous timing, or maybe fortuitous is the wrong word. But convenient timing that this happens to be the day that they leave the kids, and it's the day that Jurassic World, we'll just say, goes poorly.
Yeah.
becomes a problem.
Comes undone.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like the fact that if you had just watched Jurassic World or watched it recently and you see the Indominus, you're like, oh, look at that. That's that now I know exactly where we're at. And then Masrani's copter going down. Oh, that's okay. That's this. And then we just saw the Mosasaurus eat a big eat a sheep or whatever it was. A goat. Was it a goat? What was it?
In the movie, it was a shark.
Was it a shark or a killer whale?
I think it was a shark.
Okay, whatever it was, Mosasaurus literally just did this exact same trick. And you're like, whoa, this is super intense. And then at the end, you're like, okay, so this is when everybody is gone, and you see Roxy and Dave arguing with the the ship attendant, like, oh, we have to turn this boat around right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the paralleling of the two, like this is a great companion piece to Jurassic World.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of fleshes out some of the things that you don't necessarily see, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
That's all of my number 2.
I like that.
That is a great number 2.
Yeah, and I talked about that earlier, so just kind of reiterate. Yeah, there's a lot of points where you're just like, oh, and I know where we are because I know what that is. And
yes.
I mean, definitely the helicopter crashing into the aviary and the Pteranodons command, because like from that point, you're like, and then they all fly over where the kids are, but they're heading towards the main park, and they're about to just start wreaking havoc on all the poor people walking around at all the shops and stuff.
Yes.
So,
which provides kind of a neat parallel to Jurassic Park 3, where from the aviary they go on the river, and now obviously this one's underground, so they avoid the pterodons, but rather than being pulled away by them. Billy, was that his name?
Yeah.
Yes, Billy.
So there's another interesting callback to Billy.
With Ben?
In the very beginning of the first episode, the video game that Darius is playing is having the raptor, like the 3D printed raptor vocalizer kind of thing that he uses to call the raptors to help him defeat the T-Rex in the video game, which of course Jurassic Park 3, Billy 3D prints that for Alan Grant, and then they end up using it to kind of communicate in a way with the raptors as they're trying to give their eggs back to them.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've seen those movies.
Well, if you need a companion podcast for those movies, I can recommend one.
Oh, okay, cool.
We have covered Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3.
I think I've listened to actually all three of them. I just don't necessarily know that I actually went back and watched the movies. So, yeah. All right. Cool. So, Daphne?
Yes, it's my turn. Okay, so my number 2 is the characters and their likable traits and their weaknesses. Because I feel like these kids came in being very stereotypical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Darius is the dino nerd, and Ben is this nerdy, nervous kid who's allergic, it seems, to things, and addicted to hand sanitizer. And Yaz is this athlete who's, well-trained and very athletic. Brooklyn is this high-profile vlogger who wanted to come to the island so she could record her experiences with the dinosaurs. Kenji is this kid who his family pretty much ignores him, and he's the oldest, and he's prone to getting into trouble. And Sammy is this really energetic girl who wants to be part of a group, and we find out more about her a little bit later. This is all where they start. And I feel like by the end of this season, we're starting to see that there's more to each of them than there was at the start.
Yeah.
Ben is a kid who, at the beginning of the season, he would be the last kid that you would expect to be the brave one to try to do something to save everyone. Yep. And Yaz is the athlete that risked her life to save others when they were in the Mosasaurus lagoon. And Brooklyn is always so worried that no one's going to like her, and I think she's starting to realize that she may have a group of friends in the people that she's with. And Kenji is more of a leader, I think, than he thought he could be. But he's...
I swear, if I was going to curse, it would be about Kenji.
I know.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Kenji's very high on himself. He, considers himself the VIP. Probably because his family could buy and sell everyone else that's at this camp.
Very intolerable person.
Yes, very intolerable. Poor Darius. Kenji played a game with Darius basically by telling him that, I don't want to get sent home. I'm afraid I'm going to get sent home. So Darius takes the blame for the first infraction. But I think there's more to Kenji, and I think maybe I'm wrong, because Greg has seen them all. I have not, so I'm not tainted by any further episodes. I think there's more to him. I think he is, though, that stereotypical kid where his family is never there. His parents are always off somewhere. And he's always left on his own. And Sammy agreeing to spy for Mantis to help pay her family's debts because her family wouldn't ask her to do that. She did it on her own.
For
Manticore.
Which is funny. Manticore. Core, as in like a manticore, like a mythical creature made up of parts of other different creatures. Yeah, I see what they're doing there. I see what they're doing there. I see you.
So I guess I can see where they started and where they got to at this point. And I really appreciated that we've seen some change in some of them. Maybe not all, but I do feel like they're all, like, evolving. They've had to learn to survive in this weird place where they're... where Roxy and Dave left them. I mean, I don't understand either why Roxy and Dave both had to go.
Yeah. That's
Why one couldn't stay behind.
I'm going to go talk to Claire. You make sure the kids don't die.
Right. I mean, there was a general level of incompetence when it came to them, their decisions.
Just like most
Yes.
camp counselors.
So it's on par with the people who do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What made me laugh, though, is they have only 6 kids. Imagine if they had 20 kids. Because one of the things that I read in multiple places online was that the original intention was Claire was going to have Zach and Gray, her nephews that came to visit her, go to Camp Cretaceous. But
well, that was what Roxy
Yes.
said when she called. She said, "Hey, you wanted to have your kids here, but this is a bad idea.
Maybe let them stay at the hotel.
yeah,
They'll get into trouble in their own way.
yeah, exactly.
And we see that they we
Yes,
saw the
they
trouble
do.
that they got into. Even
Can't
in
get
this
into
show.
trouble. That is what you learn from any of the Jurassic movies.
Yeah.
Kids get into trouble. They do what they're not supposed to do.
Oh yeah.
They stow away on boats that they're not supposed to be on. They're always getting into trouble.
We talk about a lot more kids because I think it is in the first episode when they roll up to, I don't know what to call it. It's like because it's not like a cabin. It's a big treehouse fort, like giant area.
You just call it their
campground.
Their
camp.
camp in the tree.
Yeah.
It's a tree camp.
But in that first, she says that it was built for 500 campers and 150 counselors or 150 staff.
No, you could not have
It's
that.
like,
They can't keep control of 6.
Right.
Even with more counselors, they're not going to be able to keep control of more than 6.
Right.
You need a counselor for every child,
Mhm.
especially if the kids are going to be like these 6.
We see kids and dinosaurs don't mix ever.
No. No, they don't. They never have. Even since Jurassic Park, they haven't mixed very well. So yeah.
So
that was my number.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
The kids in general.
Yeah, the kids
Nice.
in general. I just feel like we saw them at the beginning, and where we saw them at the end, there was some growth there. And since on this podcast, we do like to talk about characters and character arcs,
Yeah.
I do think there were some definite arcs within
definitely.
this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have one character in their arc is like a backup. So if anything, I will talk about it in other notes when we get there.
All right, good.
But my number 2, kind of going in line with the incompetence of the counselors, is more of just in general. It's a bad park. Is my number 2, and it's a lot of these notes might sound like complaining or pointing out bad things, but that has been the constant of the entire Jurassic series is the fact that it's never a good idea and it's always a bad park. It's not going to work. And so I think, so it's not complaining about the show, it's complaining about Jurassic World as a whole, because as a person that would live in this world, I would have these same things being like, people are going there, they're letting things happen. And I love that they kick it off. The very opening of the first episode is Jurassic World has made a video game where they embrace the fact that dinosaurs attack and kill people.
Oh, goodness.
The video game that is made by and endorsed by Jurassic World is you trying to escape from raptors and T-Rex trying to kill you. Because that's the kind of trauma you want to put a kid through before you give them a free ticket to the park.
Well, Peg, you do know, because you play this game, that some of the challenges in Jurassic World Evolution are go 10 minutes without a carnivore killing guests. It's just one of the many challenges.
Yeah, so but I think that's really funny that even the park's own video game, they're like, yeah, you're gonna be scared and run for your life.
Yeah.
And when they first get there, there's a Compsognathus on the loose. We get Compy just Got it. And they're like, oh, it's out it again. Like, enclosure escapes are just normal. It's not a great look for the park with the kids. Like, welcome to Jurassic World. Oh, look, there's a dinosaur out of its enclosure. Give us a second. We got everything under control. Don't worry.
They need to read the briefs on each of the dinosaurs and understand that some of them want to be in a group and others want to be in a wooded area. Mm-hmm. Others want to be like on just a grassy knoll. There's lots of little rules to dinosaurs and what they like.
And where is the security around this velociraptor?
Right.
Good God. Come on.
We kind of saw it in Jurassic World. Like, it does exist.
I mean, these kids
there should be at least one.
Oh, hey, there's one guard.
Yeah,
right
there should at least be like one night security guard. Like, if anything seems off at all, you call people because this is a deadly raptor pen.
Yes. Yeah. There should at least be a sign too. Was there a sign? I didn't see a sign.
It just yeah, I think there was, but I don't think it said Velociraptor. At least not the one they showed. It was just like danger. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all dinosaurs are
pretty
dangerous.
Much.
You know, whatever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And again, so talking about that Velociraptor pin, and we joked about this a little earlier too. I think with Greg's first point, it's like there is no world where these kids climb into that pin, narrowly escape with their life, and then they're not immediately sent home. Whereas, like,
yeah, I don't get it. Like any regular camp.
That's strike one. No, that's strike never. This is not going to work. We're never doing it again.
Yeah. You can get sent home from a regular camp for much less.
Yeah. And then they just trust the kids to drive gyrospheres around in a herd of dinosaurs. Like, you know, just drive it, stay behind them. Don't go under the Brachiosaurus where you'll get smashed. Just stay behind them. We'll trust you fully.
And they have no idea how to drive. Right. Like, it's like, it's not.
All right, they had the Jimmy Fallon tutorial. So
they got this.
You know.
Oh, no. No. No.
And I think the last point that is really bad is, like, again, who designed the kayak river adventure to have a direct
end to
have a direct connection from the river where guests of the park are riding kayaks? Why is there a direct connection into the middle of the Mosasaurus lagoon?
I took a wrong turn, and oh my gosh, where am I?
That is asking for this to happen. I don't know.
It is. It's like a recipe for disaster.
It's like,
I don't get it.
You didn't have the best architects work on this one, did you?
No.
But I love that the Jurassic series and even this show is self-referential about these kind of things. And it all can be summed up as when they're in the like shipping bay area where they fight the Carnotaurus before they get to the docks, where Yasmin has a line where she literally said, "Can't anyone associated with this place just make one good decision?"
No.
And I had to like pause it and like mark that quote down because like Jurassic series summed up in one question.
Yes. No one ever makes a good decision. They don't.
So that was my number 2 is just bad park.
So my number 1 is like, and it's like, unfortunately, I've got like a whole plethora of stuff that I could talk about, but but I'm going to kind of go back to what Daphne was talking about in number 2 and the kids. I love, and maybe it's because I've watched plenty of movies and been to camp, but I love the sense of actual going to camp. And hey, everybody's standoffish right at the beginning, and then some people are friendly, some people don't want to be left alone. Oh hey, what are you doing? People trying to get people out of their shell, and then as you said, Daphne, by the end, everybody's working as a cohesive unit, and everybody's learned each other's strengths and weaknesses, and overcoming adversity or fear or whatever the case is. It's not Darius who saves everybody. It's Ben. It's not Yasmin who convinces Brooklyn that Sammy feels really bad, and there's nothing that you could say to make her feel any worse. It's Kenji, and so like the bonding, like I liked that they ended up they paired them off into kind of like the Odd Couples.
Yes, they weren't put in with the ones that they got along with the best.
And like Yasmin and Ben and Bumpy are in the kayak, and she's like, we're gonna have to prepare for dino vomit, and she's like, yep, this is the cart, this is the one I chose, this is great.
Yep.
But so the Odd Couple pairings, and then I really liked both the mirror of dark ending, as in, hey, we lost Ben, yet we see him in the immediately pre-credits. And
yeah, I'm glad that they let us end on that note to know he's at least alive, because I remember like freaking out, like, because this is the first time I've watched this season, this series, and I'm just going like when that ended that episode with the finger slipping and him falling, and I'm like, I have to assume they didn't just actually kill Ben, did they? I was like,
yeah, no,
like, and so in my head I was like, he's gonna somehow survive the fall because they're good at falling from 40 feet and surviving. We've established that. And then Dave and Roxy are gonna like come across him on their way to the ferry or something. Like I was like, it's gonna be all fine. And then when we didn't see him again the rest of the episode in the finale until the very end, and then I'm like, okay, so the counselors didn't find him, but Bumpy did, so we're good.
Yeah.
So
we're
like
good.
you end on that note of hope, where hey, we've spent the last 5 days together, and we've got each other, and I have to imagine that at some point or another the boat's going to turn around and be like, hey, we need to come see if there are any survivors. Maybe not necessarily for these 6 kids, because I would imagine that they'd be like, well, I mean, at least 1 or 2 of them had to have been eaten by the time we get back. But I mean, like acceptable losses, given that we had people literally just be torn apart in front of people in the movie,
in front of children, in front of children.
So I mean, like these kids, I mean, they're basically, we're just gonna have to write letters home and say, can you imagine the letters that they're gonna like the receiving? Darius's mom received, her husband just died of whatever he died of, and her brother, his brother, and hey, he went to Jurassic World in Camp Cretaceous, and now we're real sorry. Our bad.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the president of the company is dead because he's down trying to kill something that somebody he hired made.
Yes.
Not a huge, not a huge, like, I wouldn't want to be an investor in Engine right now.
No, there's going to be a lot of payments.
There's a lot of settlements going on.
A lot of peeps.
Big old class action lawsuit.
Again, there's so many things you could tie into evolution just because we've been playing it a bunch. That part of your financial, because I mean, it goes pretty in depth of like your finance reports, and you have to balance everything. I mean, you build a park and run it. Part of your finances that you have to keep in check are lawyer fees. For accidents in the park and casualties of guests.
Yes, and there's research that you have to do to get better lawyers. That's one of the things you have to do.
Yep.
It's hilarious, some of the stuff that you have to do.
It is funny that we're like, it's hilarious that we're talking about people dying in this park. And,
No. It's just some of the stuff, it's just
but yeah, like Daphne mentioned earlier, the character arcs and the camp idea and the camp concept, I thought that they really embodied that well throughout this the show.
Yeah, where they have like while they're in the monorail, they're talking like, Sammy's all bubbly about well, at least we're all best friends for life now. And it's like, and like all the, because they're like, well, at least this happens. They're like, yeah, and at least this, yeah, and then she does that, and everybody's like, about that. Like, I don't know about that. Of course, I think the more that they survive after that point, they're like, I think she might have been onto something.
It was a very Breakfast Club moment.
Mm-hmm.
It made me think about the Breakfast Club, the movie from the 80s, where they're all stuck in detention together.
There were
and
6
it's
of them.
like,
and there was the nerd, there was the jock, there was that's a really good comparison. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought about when they got to the end and they're thinking, would we even talk to
Right.
each other
So
outside of here?
Right. So these kids are the Let's Try Not to Be Something's Breakfast Club.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Oh, goodness.
Jerry would be proud
Oh,
of
man.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
goodness.
my number one.
Yeah,
Right.
Pake's been bringing the puns. In season 3 of the podcast, the episodes that we've recorded so far, he's been bringing puns to every episode. Jerry will be very proud of him.
Just dishing them out. Call me the Punisher.
you. Oh,
Oh, God.
All right. I'm
sorry. Oh, boy.
All right. So, yeah, Greg, you have anything
no,
else on that?
I will just discuss the extra stuff that you guys talk about.
Cool. So,
All right.
Daphne, what do you have as a number one?
Okay, so my number one is basically the tie-ins to the Jurassic universe, and including the fact that we didn't get the usual T-Rex Raptor antagonist. Because if you remember in Jurassic Park and The Lost World, it was all about the T-Rex, which was the main antagonist. Then we got to Jurassic World 3, and we got the Spinosaurus, which was a cool change. Well, in this respect, we got the Indominus Rex. We've already talked about that, so I don't feel like we have to go in depth. Pake used one of his numbers as the Indominus Rex, so I feel like I don't have to go into detail about that. I do like the tie-ins and the little things that we saw that connected it, and we've kind of already touched on those things, but there were other little references in amongst the movie where kids were talking about fossil articles written by Dr. Sattler and Dr. Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the kids all met Dr. Wu, who we all know is a snake in the grass. And has done some really questionable things with his with bringing the dinosaurs back to life. Just the other things, Masrani crashing his helicopter and the pterosaurs getting out. Because we saw pteranodons in Camp Cretaceous, but there were other pterosaurs, which is in that family, that actually came out of the aviary as well. But we really only saw the pteranodons. And of course, the Indominus Rex escaping. We saw that happen, in Jurassic World. So I loved those tie-ins. I loved everything, the dinosaurs, the connection.
Even Mr. DNA made a cameo.
Yes, he did.
Congratulations. I guess this is another one of those things just with regard to Mr. DNA. I can't believe that some YouTuber somewhere didn't crack that game before Darius. I mean, I'm just saying. I get it.
Yeah.
I get this, you figure out a way to get him to the park. But I thought it was a very the whole VR concept. I thought that was a almost like an open world open world VR game, and I thought that was a really I thought it was well done.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's very clever. I thought that it was very clever, and I'm with you, Greg, because some Twitch streamer would have gotten that in a few hours. They would have figured out how to beat that, and they'd been on their way. Although I'm just not sure that they would feel special having, getting to go to an island where they're going to get left alone, get in trouble, and possibly be dino food. I mean, they didn't probably sign up for that any more than these kids did.
Yep.
So that's my number one.
Right. Okay, my number one, I'm trying to decide because my actual number one was that same thing. It was just different references, and I think you covered all of it other than let's see, the only one was and again, it's more of a reference to the game, to evolution. A little thing is I had to pause it and make sure when they're driving the van, and Yasmina's driving the van, and she goes, "Driver en route," and I was like, "Oh my god, did she really just say that?" Because that's what they say every time you send drivers out to restock feeders or medicate dinosaurs or whatever. When the driver en route, okay, ACU unit en route. Like it's.
I didn't know what ACU was until this. Like I just knew it was
containment unit.
Yes, now I know it, and I didn't know it before. I'm just like ACU. I don't care what it stands for. Yeah. It tranquilizes and moves the dinosaurs. That's all I need to know.
I did like the like when Yasmina was driving the van and the Indominus, or maybe it was when Kenji was driving the van, but the saliva on the back windshield, it was again very reminiscent of the Jeep in Jurassic Park, and must drive faster. But like the saliva on the back windshield, I was like, oh, that's actually, that thing's close, like real close.
Yes. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear.
And they appear real close.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I guess my number one, I'm just gonna, because it kind of fits, like talking about the campers and some of their arcs, because we've talked about that a little bit. So it's really combining all of my backup points into one point with my extra notes I have on things we've talked about.
Awesome.
So I'll do that. So Kenji, of course, I wanted to talk about, because that's kind of what I hinted at earlier about. There's one arc that I think really stood out a lot from the others. And that was him. It's because when we start, he is unbearable. He's full of himself and full of something else. And, and it's very quickly like, do you think there's a point that you would stop going anywhere with him? Because at least in the first like 2 or 3 episodes, it's like every time Darius went off on, something with him, 100% of the time you ended up in a deadly carnivore's enclosure.
Yeah.
So I think the track record tells you stop hanging out with him. Don't go with him anywhere. Or, you end up in you don't take crap from him, or you'll end up shoveling it with him. Because they end up on poop duty. Yes. I'm sorry.
Oh God.
No. But
and then you skip out on poop duty to almost go get eaten again.
Yeah. Right. So Kenji starts in this like place where you're like, he's just the worst.
Very Jean-Ralphio.
Yeah.
From Parks and Rec.
The worst.
He is the worst.
And then you're like, there's no way he's going to grow on me whatsoever. Until it's only in the 3rd episode. I wouldn't say he grows on me, but one of my favorite moments of the show is when he's having to ride with Ben driving the gyrosphere, and he's just spinning it in a circle in his face as he's just keeping eye contact with Dave the whole time.
It's great.
I lost it. I was cracking up so hard. But, and then he's still very much being himself. He's like, I'm the leader, so listen to what Darius says. And Darius is like, well, why aren't I the leader? It's like, why are you putting me in charge? Because they blame you if something bad goes wrong. The delegation. I mean, this kid will go places for sure in the corporate world. But then I love how Ben then mentioned something about when they see the fences torn down. It's like, oh no, now we have to deal with Toro too. And I was like, wait, he didn't know anything about Toro. And then I love Darius is like, wait, how do you know anything about Toro? He's like, of course, Kenji told everyone almost immediately.
It was supposed to be a secret.
Because he saved Darius, and so he cannot let that stay a secret, because he's got to be the hero. He has to be the most important person in the room at all times. And
you can get, though, why he feels that way.
Oh, absolutely, because you're just like, I hate him. Because, my dad's super important. We never find out exactly who his dad is, at least not in this first season. I don't know about future. But, he's got his own penthouse in the park, and he's, very wealthy and very well known, and the park gives him anything he wants, and he's got VIP access to everywhere. And, he's kind of like you mentioned earlier, this kid who's just given everything because his dad is off not caring about him all the other time. So he's just like, when I get home, I'm going to go hang out with our staff in the bowling alley. Like he has no friends. He has nobody who's really a solid point in his life at all. And so he doesn't know how to do friendships and people skills. He doesn't have all of that. And so you really see that like he puts on this front of being the best and most popular and coolest kid in the whole world, but really he's just lonely.
Yeah.
And so you do kind of see that arc of him finally realizing like, oh my gosh, I have real friends and I'm like living like a real experience in life, even though it's the most horrifying experience possibly imaginable. Yeah. But I'm living something more than just what's handed to me. And he comes out of left field in the kayaks with this sincerity and maturity, talking with, Brooklyn about cutting Sammy a break. And, Greg mentioned that a little bit earlier. It's like, that's not the person you expected that to come from, is Kenji. But you're like, oh, okay, he's maturing.
Yeah, when they're hanging out in the CKK. The CKK? CKK.
Yeah,
CKK.
the CKK.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Shut up, Kenji.
So his arc, and I won't say it's a full arc for this season. I bet it's for the series. And again, I haven't seen the other 2 seasons, but I can only hope that his character becomes more fleshed out and you hopefully like him more and more as the show goes on. But yeah, the rest of the kids have little arcs. And, we talked about that. I love Dave has his nicknames for all of them. Darius is Dino Kid. Yasmin was Track Star. And as we find out is she's a high-level athlete who is sponsored by the park. That's why she's there. Brooklyn is Internet Girl, which, she's just got to keep her Brooklanders in the know of everything going on.
Yes, she does.
Ben is Barfy. Ben was Barfy. And Barfy. And we just find out his mom worked for Masrani, and she wanted him to face his fears. So somehow she works in a high enough level to have pull to get him there. We don't find out a whole lot right here. Sammy is Texas. And because she's Texas, that sums her up pretty well. But we find out her family is a family of ranchers, and they supply the beef to the carnivores for the park. So that's why she's there. And she's also there on her own agenda as well, that she's spying for Manticore. And then Kenji I kind of talked about. So we just see them grow together on this journey. And Ben has the best arc also, I think, besides Kenji. And it comes right off of when they're getting on the monorail. We see him back to back. He's sitting there just cowering while the Carnotaurus is bearing down on Yasmin. And he doesn't do anything. And Darius has to be like, okay, fine, I'm doing it. And he's just sitting there, just scared. And then when Darius has to climb through the hatch, and he's like, the only people that are really small enough to get in there is me. And he looks at Ben and he goes, is me. Like, Ben has realized people are just writing him off. I mean, when he gives them the terrible snacks, the carob stuff, that Kenji was just like, oh, Ben's finally useful for something. And then they're all, actually, nope, never mind, this is trash. But it's starting to wear on him that he realizes that who he is becoming a burden on the group, that they just view him as useless. And so he sucks it up and makes that brave choice to climb up there and do everything on his own, which he succeeds. And it's awesome, unfortunately, which I didn't expect. And I really applaud the show for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
For then just underlining the whole brave moment. The kid finally grows up and does the big thing. And it's and now you're going to think he's dead for an episode.
So that was an awesome slow-mo death scene. Or,
yes. Almost dead.
On your way to death.
The Pteranodon crashing through the window and snagging him. And just to see his face, he's lit up and smiling because he accomplished something. And then the glass shatters and it goes slow-mo and you see his smile turn to this look of concern real slowly as he gets grabbed. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you can call it a cinematic sequence because it's all animated, but it was.
Absolutely.
It was shot incredibly, where I was like, that was really cool.
And then, don't let go, Jack. Just don't let go.
Nah.
I was just oh, this is horrifying. I know.
Darius is sitting there holding him up for dear life, and then what are the other?
That's what I was like. What are you doing, guys?
Standing back there with their back.
You're not helping. Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I can imagine the other 4 back there with their popcorn, just oh no, is he gonna make it?
No. No, this is real life. It's not a movie. That scene reminded me of when Bucky fell off the train in Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I thought that whole monorail scene was so well done. I mean, I say well done, well animated, well voiced. It was a.
Yep.
I mean, I don't necessarily know that there would be track shifting things in the front car, but okay.
Yeah, usually that's in like a control center somewhere else.
But okay,
Yes.
sure, whatever.
Yeah. I haven't uncovered it in playing Jurassic World Evolution. I can make a monorail now, but there's not two different tracks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like that whole scene was fantastic. Yeah. I hadn't thought. I mean, I knew that Ben felt that he was worthless and just scared and whatnot, and then the very, very out of character, "I'm going to save the day." I thought that was very impactful. And then the immediately, like I said, this is what you get for doing something good. Is granted you don't die, but you get lost.
Right. Like if he really did die in that moment, I was like, "Yep, there's the lesson, kids." Is, don't get out of your comfort zone and do something to help people or you'll die.
Yeah, no, it's not a good PSA.
That was a good number one, man.
So I guess, just number one is just kind of filling up. It was a way to like combine all the rest of my like backup points into something cohesive. So I'll take it. So, Greg, do you have any other extra notes and stuff you wanted to talk about?
Like, I feel like it's funny because we haven't really talked about the plot of the story, or at least the stuff that sticks out to me. Very specifically, Sammy being filmed, doing taking the samples from the Sinoceratops, and then stealing of the phone, and then the breaking of the phone, and then the interaction and the conflict between between her and Yasmin, and then Brooklyn, Brooklyn unboxes what the hell ever. It was just, I liked. I mean, we haven't kind of. I guess that was just kind of a big part to me because that seemed like a major point in the story. But the way what Kenji kind of says, like, yeah, maybe we would be fine, or maybe something else would have happened and we'd still be stuck here on this island together and having to deal with it. I really appreciated the preteen or young teen dynamic, and kind of backstabbing between. I guess that actually ties into what I was talking about as far as the camp atmosphere, and bonding throughout that. I don't like they ran a lot in this show, and I loved all of the locales that you got to see different tense moments, right? You got outdoors, you got the river. It was almost like they were like, okay, so for each episode, where can we put a different action scene? This one's, the genetics lab. Oh yeah. Also, sorry. And this, if I'm taking something, Dr. Wu is just an a-hole. I mean, in Jurassic Park, you don't really get it. And you don't even really, I don't feel like you get it until Jurassic World. And the fact that and then, in this, it's like, oh, the fame of, being viewed and being seen. How many subscribers do you have? Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll do an interview. He's just a real bad guy. Did he get, I mean, okay. So did he get his just desserts? I feel like he might have.
Not yet.
No, I feel like that should be like in Dominion. That should be like the end of Dr. Wu.
Yeah.
Like subtitle, Death of Dr. Wu.
That'll
get people in the theater immediately.
Yes, it will.
Finally!
Yes, finally. We've been waiting for this forever. Sometimes, waiting for something for so long and then you finally get it. It's
so satisfying.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't get that he was a bad guy until like Jurassic World and then Fallen Kingdom. And then also in kind of some other pairing pieces to it where are the Lego episodes. Indominus Escape, and it's Jurassic World Lego, and Dr. Wu in those is also a cocky character who treats people with disdain.
Yeah, he's just kind of like that. Even again, make I'm trying to sell people on Jurassic World Evolution. Get it? It's great.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, Dr. Wu is a character in that game too, and
Yes,
it's
he
the same
is.
thing. The missions and stuff that you have to do, a lot of it is like him being like, I'll give you all this money to help fund your park, but you have to do this. And then you have to do it to like, you know, have money to do certain things. And then like, as you accept the mission, then you get like Jeff Goldblum, like, you know, you get Ian Malcolm in your ear being like, I don't think this is a good idea. You should probably not do that. You know, and it's like, you're listening to Dr. Wu. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, I know I shouldn't, but I need to pass this level.
Yes. I try not to listen to Dr. Wu if at all possible.
Yep.
However,
and then Claire just shows up being like, you need to care for your dinosaurs more. I'm like, shut up. But,
those were all the notes that I had.
That's great. Daphne, do you have any extra show notes?
See. No, I think I've covered everything that I had.
All right. Well, then I will try to go through everything real quick. I don't know. A lot of my other little notes I threw in here and there. So we'll just go down the list and see what I didn't mention. Darius himself is kind of set up as the main character, even though it kind of becomes a lot more of an ensemble. But it is cool to see him kind of from the beginning. He's super smart, very dino savvy. A little socially awkward, but not that much. Like I said, he doesn't really take crap from Kenji. Like Kenji will do the stuff where he's like, you know, kind of manipulating him, or I'm the cool kid and you're the nerd and blah, blah, blah. And Darius is like, no. Like, you know, he's not, he was willing to just like fire some kind of like sarcastic barb right back at him. Like he's not meek. And so I did like that. And then we get like the little story. It's like through the episode of, you know, things fall apart, which is what his dad told him. And we kind of see the background and the backstory of his father. And that just,
that killed me.
Right in the heart.
Me so bad.
And it was the reason why being at Jurassic World was so important to Darius.
Yes.
And, you know, the matching, like the raptor tooth necklaces and him being so gung-ho about, you know, we're going to go to Jurassic World and we planned all this and all this and all this. And then his dad gets sick. And, I mean, we don't really see it, but it's spelled out and it's told to us in every way but directly that, you know, his father was sick and died before they had a chance to go on their father-son excursion to Jurassic World. And so now he's kind of doing this in honor of his dad. And so, of course, it has to be this time that all this happens when he goes.
Yeah.
But, I just thought that was kind of, even though it was like a small little detail in a backstory, it was impactful for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, you definitely would want someone like Darius on the island with you if you were trapped there, because he has so much knowledge in his head.
Yeah. He was Tim, right? Tim from Jurassic Park.
Except, yes.
You know, competent.
Yes. He knew a lot. Yeah, I would say he was
like Tim and Dr. Grant mixed together.
Yeah. Oh, I saw.
Yes.
Tim is Darius and Ben mixed together. No,
yeah.
He's got the skills, but he's kind of not that great at. Like he has the knowledge, not the skills. That's really more. But let's see what else. The gyrosphere is really cool. Again, just I can talk about evolution. I love having gyrospheres set up in my enclosures to let people run around in those. Yaz, having her kind of storyline of, we find out that, she's like this high level athlete, but she's put all of her time into training because she, kind of the opposite of Kenji, it's not that she doesn't have any friends because she like doesn't have the opportunity or whatever. She doesn't want them. Like she's a loner. She's shy. She likes being on herself. She has trust issues. And then when she finally warms up to Sammy, then Sammy spying and taking the phone and all that comes to light. And it just wrecks her. Like, she's like, I finally put myself out there to trust somebody, and this is what I get for it.
Yeah. She feels betrayed. I mean, she really feels betrayed.
So we see that kind of arc where she feels hurt by that, rightfully so. But then again, at the end, she's the one like, let's just put it all aside because we've got to work together. And so I like that there's a lot of really interesting arcs. For like a kid's show, there are really good character arcs. The gyrospheres are pretty resilient until a Sinoceratops horn is evolved.
Oh yeah, the quicksand.
Yeah,
oh my
see.
God.
Yeah.
I don't see
Oh
how
my
quicksand
gosh,
didn't end
yeah.
up inside the gyrosphere, but whatever.
Yeah. It started a little bit. Yeah. Of course, let the cowgirl wrangle the dinosaur and pull Darius and Brooklyn out
Yep.
through the gyrosphere. All of that. And then, she's talking about, because this, I think, was before they found out about the phone. Because with that, she's talking about, you just have to let the dinosaur trust you, and you just have to build this relationship, and you have to. And like Yasmina's like, yeah, that's great, and like that's what helps her like fully move over to like trusting Sammy, and then it all falls apart from there.
Yeah. One thing with the gyrosphere that we didn't mention is they do come across a damaged gyrosphere and a dead Ankylosaurus.
Which is what I was saying. I kind of made a hint to that earlier. Is you talked about Zach and Gray ended up not going to the camp, and I was like, yeah, they'll get in trouble on their own. Yeah, we see the trouble they got into.
Yeah, but that was another tie-in.
Yeah, because that was their gyrosphere. That's in Jurassic World where they were attacked by Indominus. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
It's cool. I think the last thing I have was just an interesting little production thing that I noticed. Is aside from the like poster with the baby Ankylosaurus with the hang in there, and then like the Indominus Rex paperwork on Dr. Wu's desk, pretty much any other written material, any signs, any texts, anything that is text or writing or a poster, it's all just gibberish scribbles and symbols. And it made me kind of go on a little deep dive online. I was like, what is the deal with that? And there's not really any good reason for it other than it's just a way of them not having to write out anything. It's just an easy animation thing for them to like, why waste all the time writing letters and stuff with stuff that's not
I thought
important?
It was really cool stuff.
And also, yeah, it is cool. But then when you're translating the show into other languages, then you don't have to try to even worry about that. You're like, you know what? The voices can be in different languages and everything else just it's symbols. You don't have to worry about what's written. Yeah.
It saves time.
Stylish and useful.
Yes.
There was one other thing that I forgot to mention, and that is at one point there's an announcer talking about an 18-hole themed Jurassic World golf course.
We didn't see that one in the movie.
Yeah, and that reminded me that I found out recently there just happens to be a dinosaur-themed mini golf course about 15 miles from my house called Raptor Falls. I had never heard of it. I've never been there, but I'm going to go. I feel
sounds like you're going to have to go check that out.
I'm going to have to go check that out. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't know about it. Going to have to check it out.
All right. Well, yeah, that is all of my notes.
Wow.
All right. Then I guess we are just about covered, other than Daphne usually finds some really fun production notes and behind this other extra, not really behind the scenes, but cool trivia and stuff to go at the tail end.
All right. So here are your production notes and other tidbits for Camp Cretaceous Season 1. So Spielberg did not want Camp Cretaceous to become a, quote, kidified version of Jurassic Park, and he wanted the kids to be put in dangerous situations. Though some things are toned down, if you think about like blood and profanity, there is still a lot of intensity that you feel in the movies, also in Camp Cretaceous. The showrunners also shared this vision, and they were inspired by various Spielberg films that depicted children in danger. Wonder which ones those were. There are a few. So, crew members watched Jurassic World several times in order to develop the connections between the film and the show. I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
We already talked about the kids stumbling upon Gray and Zach's gyrosphere. There were some character changes that were made. Originally, there were plans for Ben to be the older and athletic member of the group, with Ben's character traits going to an Asian teenager named Ji. However, they changed it up and Ji became Kenji, And Kenji, of course, is the older, more athletic person. And Ben, we know, is not so athletic. Although he is very brave. We have figured that out. Sammy was originally going to be a boy. Yasmina's name was going to be Katie. And Brooklyn's name was going to be Jules, with not as pink hair. Like, she'd have pink hair, but not quite as pink. They went through multiple dinosaur species iterations for Bumpy, including Carnotaurus.
A little mini Carnotaurus.
Pachycephalosaurus. Yeah, can you imagine? Mini Carnotaurus running around. Pachycephalosaurus, Maiasaura, Parasaurolophus, Styracosaurus, Protoceratops, Ceratosaurus, Utyrannus, Cryolophosaurus, and Allosaurus. Thankfully, they decided to make her an Ankylosaurus, which we all have fallen in love with. So cute, is Bumpy.
Bumpy is the new Baby Yoda.
Yes. Yes, agreed. Make it so. So Leo Birenberg created the original music while using themes from Jurassic Park and Jurassic World as inspiration. As we mentioned, there is a season 2, which is set 6 months before the opening sequence of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It was released on January 22nd, 2021, and consists of 8 episodes. A 10-episode season 3 followed on May 21 of 2021. They are able to churn these out pretty quickly.
So I think that this is just my personal opinion, and maybe what you found online is right. But my understanding is that most animated series are typically picked up for 2 or 3 seasons initially. But you don't want, like, specific to this one, you don't want to necessarily say, oh, hey, there's going to be a season 2, because you want the kids to be in danger. You don't want people to know that, hey, the story's not going to wrap up at the end of this season.
Okay, that makes
because
sense. Because
like you said, being able to churn them out, like, maybe they can. Maybe during COVID they could just burn through a whole bunch of them. But I feel like, yeah, like you said, those are released 5 months apart. I can't imagine. Yeah. I mean, let's say five. It was September, and then January, and then May for.
So it's 4 months apart.
4 months apart,
basically.
For, what is that, 26 episodes? I mean, I feel like they would have at least been working towards that early on.
Oh yeah, well, animation takes, like, production animation takes way longer than live action anyway. So these things had to have been in the can, and now they're just like, okay, now we can release them.
Yeah. So that's the end of my production notes. I did not use every single thing that I found, because we are going to come back to this and do the other 2 seasons. However, the next Jurassic piece of the puzzle we will cover is Jurassic World, as that went simultaneously with season 1 of Camp Cretaceous.
Very nice.
Yep, sounds good. And then we can do season 2, because that's before Fallen Kingdom. We're planning ahead. We got things. We got to fill our time before Dominion, man.
I know, but think about it. Out? We're 10 months from now.
Yeah, Stephanie's got the countdown.
That's not written down somewhere. She's like, no, I know.
No, I know.
I have a timer in my head that counts down to the second. No.
Well, because it was supposed to come out in June of 2021. June of 2021. Or June of 2020. I can't remember, but I feel like it was supposed to come out sooner.
Oh, yeah, they keep pushing it back.
COVID changes everything. So, I know that they're done filming.
That's good.
That's all I know. They've been done filming for a while. Yeah, it's in post-production. Maybe we'll get a surprise like they did with The Quiet Place, where it was suddenly, you don't have to wait until October. We're going to release it in May. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, Greg, I want to thank you for being here again and have this conversation. Maybe you'll be with us in our later little feedback segment. And if not, then I definitely wanted to make sure at least that we give you your dues and say thank you for coming on. And
hey, thanks for having me.
Always a blast to have you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I love talking about this stuff, not just Jurassic stuff and sharks and stuff, but anytime, well, most times that we can work it out. It's fantastic. I have a blast.
Yeah. So go ahead and give you a little moment to, if you want to plug anything or talk about anything. I know you have guest appeared on some other podcasts kind of in our universe, some of our friends and, our network and things like that recently. Yeah, so where can people hear you?
I did with Mark on Adrenaline Cinema. I did Hunt for Red October, which, near and dear to my heart, nuclear submarines. And then I was with, I went, we did a real deep dive into Bad Times of the El Royale with Ben over on the Wilhelm podcast. And then
it was a lot of fun to listen to, because I hadn't rewatched that movie. I only saw it like when it came out. And so I was like, man, I should have rewatched this before listening to the episode. But then it's like, you know what? You guys walked me through it pretty well. I was like, oh yeah, and then that did happen. We
did. Like, I feel like we did almost like a scene by scene breakdown. And I was like, did this go long? This is basically like the length of the movie.
Right.
That happens sometimes. You can't help it.
All right. Well, awesome. Again, thank you. And we will have you back. So we're signing you up whether you like it or not.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We got to cover more Camp Cretaceous.
Always Camp Cretaceous. Oh my goodness. We finished just in time for the feedback phone.
Got to check it. What do people think about this show?
I wonder if they liked it as much as we did. I guess we'll find out. Better answer it.
All right, we have a couple of Tonys this week. I mean, feedback from Tony. She's coming through for us. We got Tony on here. We do have our patent pending live Steving, which we can always look forward to. But first, yes, we got a couple of messages from Tony on a couple of different things. And we always love hearing from her. Hitting us up on Twitter. Our tweet pal. First one is feedback on the feedback of 10 Cloverfield Lane. She's got a little extra to say from last week, where she says, I've seen this movie a few times, and I never knew that John Goodman's character had some underlying knowledge of the attack. Again, that was a lot of just kind of, I've seen the movie so many times that I feel confident in saying that. I wouldn't take my word as a complete expert, but I feel like I've put those pieces together on there. So if you do find confirmation somewhere on that, then definitely give me the credit. But if for some reason it's wrong, then I didn't say it.
Oh, come on.
She continues on saying, Daphne, I've never seen Captive State. Looks like I'm slacking as a John Goodman fan. Shh, don't tell him. I'll try to find it. I love Steve's live message. And Pake, I binged Midnight Mass. Really liked it. And I'm watching British Bake Off and listening to you and Rima. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Always love hearing people on other podcasts saying that they're listening to me on my other show as well. But whether it's here on there or there on here, always nice to hear.
All right. Well, Tony also had some things to say about Camp Cretaceous. She said, I watched this and I was surprised I enjoyed it. The first season anyway. The second was okay, and I didn't even finish the third. Bumpy, the Ankylosaurus, is my favorite character and my favorite dinosaur since I was a little kid. Do you guys have a favorite dinosaur? Ooh, that is such a loaded question for me, but I think, I know which one mine is. Pake, do you know which one is my favorite?
Specific dinosaur, as far as like one dinosaur that has its own name, is Roberta.
Yeah.
But if you're a species of dinosaur, a genus, whatever, then I think you're a Parasaurolophus fan, aren't you?
I am, but my favorite is Velociraptors.
Okay, yeah. Clever girl.
That's right.
Mine is hard to pinpoint exactly. I feel like when I was a little kid, my answer was always the Pachycephalosauruses. And I think it's because of the scene in Lost World where he like headbutts the guy through the Jeep. That always it was like, that's just so cool. I think that's always one of my favorites, and so I'm stuck with that.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah. Velociraptor is definitely my favorite species. As far as a carnivore, for an herbivore, it's very difficult for me to pick one because I just like them all. I really like Triceratops. I've been playing a lot of Jurassic World Evolution, and that is just opening my mind and eyes to other species of dinosaurs that I didn't realize existed. And I thought I knew a lot about dinosaurs, but I'm learning a lot playing that game.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun ones on there. You're like, I don't know what this is, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm glad you suggested it because I'm having a great time with it.
Yes. All right. And then, as I said before, we have some live Steving, of course, from our good friend Steve Brown. Always excited to see what he has to say.
Yes. Here we go.
Hey, Pake and Daphne, this is Steve. Just started episode 1 of Camp Cretaceous, and I'm a little confused about one thing. And of course, I'm only, I'm not at the end of it yet, but they're at the Compy enclosure. Isn't the Compies, weren't they the ones that killed Nidri, and they're really dangerous dinosaurs? Is the Carnotaurus a real dinosaur? I hope you guys can answer that. And When the Things Fall Apart episode of season 1, and that dude just got ate for real. All right, this is getting pretty intense for like a kid's show. Or is it like young adult, maybe? I mean, people are dying, and that guy didn't make it out of the Jeep, according to Ben. I didn't catch what that sign said they just drove past. Oh, and we meet Eddie. So Eddie leaving in the van would have been a great time for one of the kids to say, he left us. He left us. We're going to need some more Masrani guys. Where are my diehard people? Come on. So I'm into episode 7. I know I took a little break here from giving some commentary because I don't want to go way over long. But what kind of dinosaur is this Toro dinosaur? Man, that got sad real quick.
Oh.
Where's Ben? And what if we refuse politely? And Darius saves the day with one lucky throw. Maybe, okay. Maybe not. I don't know. Fricasseed Toro ain't having none of it. On to season 2.
Wow. Okay.
That was awesome.
So, thank you, Steve. Okay. So, to answer your question, Nedry was beaten, torn to pieces by a Dilophosaurus.
It's the Dilophosaurus. Now, the Compies, the Compsognathus, in Lost World, there's the Russian kind of guy. No, it's not Dimitri.
Dieter. That's it. But yeah, it's a guy who goes off to take a leak, and then he's messing with all the little Compies, and they gang up on him. That's where that's from. Yes, I remember that. I love little Compies. They're so cute. They're deadly, but they're so cute.
And then Carnotaurus is, yes, a real dinosaur, and that was Toro, the Carnotaurus.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad it seemed you actually really enjoyed that season. And again, it was the first time I had watched it all the way through when we recorded this episode. And yeah, surprisingly, as like a kids show animated series, it gets a lot more intense than you expect it to. And I think I really enjoyed that and didn't expect some of that. So on to the next seasons eventually. I think, we'll have Greg back and we'll cover those down the line sometime. And yeah, so hope you'll be on the ride with us. Sounds like you enjoyed the first.
Yeah.
Stick with it.
We also have Jurassic World to cover too. I feel like that we have to do that one next and before we can do season 2. So I'm looking forward to that because that's one of my favorites. So I'm super excited to talk about that one. It's going to be great. But if you'd like to submit feedback like Tony and Steve, you could submit your theories and feedback at our Facebook page at facebook.com/runforyourlivespodcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us on Twitter at RFYLpodcast, or you can reach out to us on Instagram at runforyourlivespodcast. I realized I had not posted the images for the last podcast that we did, so I got caught up. By the time you hear this, I will have gotten caught up. If you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much all other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'll go ahead and give you a little sneak peeks on what's going on in the podcast universe around us. Again, as Tony mentioned in her feedback earlier, my other podcast, Strange Indeed, me and Rima have been covering Midnight Mass on Netflix with nice little warm and fluffy Great British Bake Off segments with Jason to end those episodes, to round those out. So that's been a fun, interesting back and forth on those. But yeah, that Midnight Mass has been incredible, such a deep and heavy show, and as sad as I am that we're rounding it out and finishing up the last episodes of that like this next week, it's also like, oh, okay, I don't have to put myself under the stress of that show anymore for a little bit. Yeah. Only to just, we're going to roll right into Lock and Key next week, though, on that podcast on Strange Indeed, season 2 of Lock and Key on Netflix. Me, Rima, and Jason will be covering that season, and I'm excited to do that. It'll be a lot of fun. And then House Podcastica, Wheel of Time will be coming up with Greg and Wendy and Ben sometime soon. Again, I don't have the exact date. I'm not sure. I don't follow that series so much. I will be watching it and listening over there once they start covering it because I am curious. So just keep your eyes on House Podcastica. You can always go to the just on Facebook.com, look up the page Podcastica, or go to podcastica.com to find what our friends over in that network are doing. And speaking of Podcastica, the flagship show of their Walking Dead cast. Of course, this week we were all in Pennsylvania hanging out, as Lucy likes to put it in the episode. Everybody was hanging out in a theme park in America, so it was left up to Lucy and Derek across the pond to handle the episode this week. And they did a great job with episode 3 of The Walking Dead World Beyond, because Walking Dead is back on a little mid-break or mid-season hiatus. But they are covering World Beyond over there. So if you're checking that out, check out Walking Dead Cast. TV Podcast Industries with Derek, covering Why the Last Man, which unfortunately was just canceled this weekend. And I'm heartbroken. But definitely go over there and check out their coverage of this one and only season. It's great. The show's been great. So definitely go give them some love there. Our friend Damien watched it in the 80s podcast. Breaks down The Evil Dead with guest Jamie. So check that out. There's some good stuff there. And then our friend Ben on Wilhelm continues his Spooktober monthly special as Damien from Watched It in the 80s comes over to talk Ghostbusters. And yes, that is the Ghostbusters 1, 2, and the female reboot from a couple years ago. And they will talk about those 3 movies as they gear up and get ready for Ghostbusters Afterlife with Paul Rudd. I'm excited about that one.
I know. It's always so exciting. Whatever he does, we're down. I feel like we say that a lot.
But speaking of what's going on podcasts around here, Daphne, what do people have to look forward to next week right here on Run for Your Lives?
Well, it's that spooky time of year, so it's time for our second ever Halloween special. Yes, we have been podcasting for over a year, and we're going to bring you our second Halloween special. Laurie Strode, her daughter Karen, and granddaughter Allison all survived Michael's reign of terror in Halloween 2018, but he has somehow survived the fiery inferno that was meant to kill him. Michael Myers continues his rampage in the recently released Halloween Kills. David Gordon Green returns as director, writer, and executive producer in the second of 3 movies meant to end the Halloween franchise. Yes, we are going to talk Halloween Kills.
Yeah, so check that out next week for our Halloween special. So, yep. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And again, a big thanks to Greg for being on this episode with us covering Camp Cretaceous Season 1. We will definitely have him back to talk more dinos in the future.
Yes, we will. And with that, we have come to the end of another fun episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you'd better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.